I like all kinds of watches, but I have always had a soft spot for black watches ever since I started wearing them. But the thing is, it's hard to find good looking black watches on a budget since companies usually avoid doing them in favor of simple steel watches. This left me no choice but to make my own black PVD watch from parts I found online, and I must say the watch turned out way better than I thought. First things first, before starting any watch build, you will want to put on these finger gloves. They protect the delicate watch parts from the oils and grime our skin naturally produces. Now, I am guessing most of you, like me, don't have those fancy wooden peg tools that watchmakers use. So here's a simple hack you can do at home. Grab a regular toothpick and cut off one end. Then file it down like I am doing here to be sure there are no loose wood bits on the tip. Please don't skip this step if you are following along with this build since it's extremely important to have this tool later on. Here is the movement we will be using today, a Japanese NH36 movement made by the most famous Japanese watch brand Seiko. As you can see, it comes with a day and date complication. We will be changing the day and date wheel that this movement comes with, but before that, it's important to make sure that everything is working as it should. Take your time with it, there is no rush. Removing the day wheel is actually pretty simple. There is a little half circle clip holding it in place. All you need is a thin flathead screwdriver to gently pry it off. Make sure you do this over a wide surface since these small things have a tendency to fly off as you can see here. Once the small clip is removed, you can just lift the day wheel off out with tweezers without any problems. Don't worry about the tools I am using here, you can find links to everything you need to build a watch in the description. Now comes the tricky part, removing and replacing the date wheel. First, we need to get access to it by taking off the metal plate that holds it in place. It's secured with 4 screws and I am using a 120mm flathead screwdriver to remove them. Take your time with this step, it's way harder than it looks since the screws are really small. It took me a couple of minutes to unscrew all the screws, even though I have done this a dozen of times. I will not cut this part because I want you guys to see how I did it, but I will be speeding it up. My strategy here is that I loosen all of the screws first before taking them out. Also, put your index finger on top of the screwdriver to apply constant downward pressure in order to prevent the screw from sliding off the screws and damaging the movement. Once you have removed all the screws, lift off the thin metal plate to access the date wheel. Before you take the old date wheel out, I highly recommend snapping a quick photo of the movement. It makes installing the new date wheel way easier later, since you will have a reference for how everything should line up. Now you will notice there is another thin metal plate, but unlike the previous one, this one isn't held down by screws. It just sits on two small posts. And this part is crucial. That plate must not move while you are removing or installing the date wheel. Watch here how I use the toothpick I made earlier to apply gentle pressure and keep it in place. I can't stress this enough. Do not let this plate shift, or you will have much harder time putting everything back together. These are the new date and day wheels I will be installing. Normally, the movement comes with the standard white wheels, but I requested black ones to match the dial better. The manufacturer was kind enough to send them instead. Again, don't forget to keep applying pressure to the plate with your toothpick while installing the new date wheel. I used the photo I took earlier as a reference and matched the positions as closely as possible. And one more thing, don't forget to place this little piece between the teeth of the date wheel. It's easy to miss, but it is essential for the mechanism to work properly. This step took a while, so I am going to speed it up without cutting anything. The first time I tried to change the date wheel of a watch, I actually not only failed but also broke the date changing mechanism. I am saying this to emphasize that it's okay to struggle with this part. It is really hard when you are first doing it. Now it's time to screw the plate back on. I am using the toothpick to keep the layer underneath from wobbling while I reinstall the plate. You can skip this if you really trust yourself not to slip with the screwdriver. But I don't trust myself that much, and honestly, you probably shouldn't either. This part is pretty straightforward since we are basically doing what we did earlier, so I will cut to the end. For the record, it took me about 5 minutes to get all 4 screws back in. Simple, but it's not that easy. You gotta be careful not to wobble around too much. So take your time. Now that the top layer is back on, the hardest part is actually over. All that is left is the day wheel, and luckily it's much easier than the date wheel. Just drop it into place and use tweezers to put that half circle clip back on. To align the day wheel properly, you can use those big holes you see on it. Just line one of them up with the crown stamp at the 3 o'clock position. It's simple once you know it, but it took me like 10 minutes to figure it out. Once everything is installed, make sure to test the functions again. In my case, the day wheel wasn't advancing properly at first. I played around with it a bit, and tightening the little half circle clip that holds it in place ended up fixing the issue. It is looking good, so it's time to put the dial on. Before we can put the dial on, we gotta cut the dial feet that we don't need. Manufacturers usually leave 2 or 3 sets of dial feet under the dials to give us, the people who build watches, the freedom to choose in which position we want to use the moment. Now for this build we will just go with the good old 3 o'clock position, and that means we need to cut the rest of them to be able to mount our dial to the moment. It is hard to see, but I cut 2 of the dial feet we didn't need. I did it off camera to prevent any particles jumping onto the moment. It is not necessary, but I usually like to file the parts I cut to prevent any bumps from making the dial uneven once we mount it onto the moment. Like the cutting, don't do this near the moment. I like to clean the movement and the dial with this air puffer before I go ahead and assemble the dial. Assembling is super easy, just place the dial feet into their holes in the movement and press the dial in gently until it sits flat. The process of hand assembly is quite simple. Use a tweezer to hold the hands and use the hand assembly tool to push them into place. I won't stand on this topic too much. My one piece of advice would be to check the clearance of each hand after you install it, and make sure it works as it should, since it is really annoying to fix a mistake afterwards. This took me like an hour to get right. I will just cut to the end. I don't want to waste any of your time. After you have gone ahead and assembled the hands, well, first of all, congrats. The second hand can be a bitch. And now we can go ahead and fit the movement into the case. Before all that though, I just clean the dial with the air puffer one more time. You can never be too cautious. We don't want any dust in the final build. This is the case I will be using for this build. It's a 36mm day-date case with black PVD coating. Just like I did with the dial, I cleaned the crystal of the case. Especially cleaning the inside is really important. I usually spend a good 5 minutes making sure the crystal is spotless before I continue with the build. Nothing sucks more than finishing a build and realizing there is dust stuck inside the crystal. I will link the lens cleaner I used in the description with all the other tools I use for my builds. We are almost at the end of this build. We just need to put what we have been working on into the case. Before we can do that though, we need to remove the dummy stem that the movement comes with. To remove the stem, push the stem into the winding position. Turn the back of the movement and use a small screwdriver to push this button. This is a bit tricky to do in the air, but I will show you how to do it. Hold the movement with your thumb and middle finger. Push the screwdriver into the button while you pull the stem with your index finger. As you saw, it takes like 2 seconds. Put the movement crown side first into the case. It depends on the case, but this one was quite easy to place the movement inside. Okay, this is the last hard part. There must be a stem that came with the movement apart from the blue dummy stem. Take that and screw it into the crown of the case. This stem is too long and needed to be cut to the appropriate length. I'm not gonna talk about this too much. If you need help, you can watch my Grand Seiko mode video where I go into more detail. Anyways, my general tip is don't cut too much at a time, and if the end of the stem is too skewed and won't screw into the crown, you can just use a file to file it down. After you are happy with the length of the stem, use some thread locker to glue it to the crown and wipe the excess with a paper towel. This build is pretty much done. I will just put this gasket into this box that has silicone lube in it so that the case keeps its water resistance rating. After that, just put the gasket in its place and close the case back with the blue ball. Honestly, I am very happy with how this watch turned out. In this hobby, it's sometimes really hard to imagine what the watch will look like. So, building your own watch usually is a hit and miss, but this one looks really good. Yo, I finally edited the video and I want to do a review of the watch. I have been wearing it for like 2 weeks now. I was lazy with the editing. I have finished this build like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I'm not really sure. Okay, let's get some light here. Before going about this, I want to talk about the other ones I made. So this, you guys have never seen this. This is the first watch I made. Let me shake it to give it some power. It's a dress watch. I have never really wore this outside. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I will do with this watch. I will probably gift it to someone because it's the first one I made. Maybe I can make a giveaway on the channel. I'm not sure. This one, you guys have probably seen this. This is like the Green Grand Seiko mode. It doesn't have its bracelet right now because it was a bit uncomfortable. I ordered the brown cowhide leather strap for it. It should arrive tomorrow. Yeah, I will put it on a strap. Usually, I am very picky with the bracelets. That's one of the reasons why I don't like this watch so much. You guys haven't seen this. I still need to edit the video. Yeah, I will edit it someday. I don't know. I'm a bit lazy. Editing is like takes like 10 hours. Yeah, this is the watch. It's working. Let me show it to you on my wrist. It has some problems. It's not a perfect watch, but it's like the watch I have with the most personality. Like, it's such a me watch, you know? Black, red. If you guys knew me, you would understand, but... Ein moment, let me remove this bracelet and put it on. I will edit this part, maybe not. Yeah, it looks like this on my wrist. lightning is shit. Yeah. Okay, quick pros and cons. Pros, it's a unique design. I love it. I made it, and it's really comfortable to wear daily. Cons, I'm not sure about the water rating, and you can't really use that night. 100 likes and I dropped the royal lock mode. Okay, bye.